right, everybody. Hello, how are you? I am still getting set up here, but we are going to get started on the Starburst tutorial, which, let me move my wet canvas out of the way. I'll bring it back in a minute, but to give you the snapshot of what we're going to be doing today, we are going to be doing this bad boy today. Getting started on it anyway. So I'm just getting a little set up. I found some white spots on my canvas, so I had to do another coat of black paint for my base coat because it was driving me crazy. So that's drying here. I'm going to get out my hot air gun and dry it off quicker so we can get going. But how are you guys? Hey, Sharon. I hope you guys are doing good. How you doing today, Sharon? Hey, Axel, how you doing, love? It's good to see ya. I hope everybody's doing good. Hope you're looking forward to creating this guy. Hey, Christy. So, big quick question. Wonderful. Number one, wonderful that you're here. Thank you for being here. I'm so glad that you're here. When you are using stretched canvas, the first thing that I'd recommend that you do, let me grab one and show you what I mean, is you want to make sure that they're still fairly springy. Like this one still has a good drum sound. So it hasn't lost a lot of its springiness. But what you can do is I usually just take a damp paintbrush and coat the back of it and then let it dry. And then that makes it really, really nice and firm. Then what I would do is I would coat it with at least 3 coats of a base color of paint, or you can also add in a coat of gesso. So I'll show you what gesso is. You can get it at Michael's, and it's designed to smooth out your surface. So if you're using a canvas that's very fibrous because of the fabric, that's going to impact the shapes of your dots, and it's going to get frustrating really quick. So you can still use stretched canvas though. You can just put a coat of gesso or maybe even 2 coats of gesso, and it's going to give it a super, super, super smooth surface for you to paint on so that the dots aren't going to get all wonky because of the fibers. Now I also use canvas panels. That's what this guy is. This one is a 12 by 12 inch canvas panel. I kind of had this feeling today where I'm like, you know what? Let's do a big one. I haven't done a big one in a long time, and I'm just dying to do a big one. So we are going to, I'm really, really, really excited for this today, you guys. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of jumpy, like, yeah, it's going to be so fun. So if it's a canvas panel, to finish answering Christy's question, 2 or 3 coats of your base color of paint works really well, or gesso. But a lot of them tend to be a lot smoother already, so you probably don't need quite as much prep on the canvas panel. Now it depends on how good quality they are too, so kind of keep that in mind. You're going to want the gesso if you're going to use dollar store canvases a lot, which I do, which is why it was a good investment for me to pay for the gesso, because I use a lot of dollar store supplies, right? So that works out really well for me. I'm doing good. Oh, I hope that your cough is okay today. I hope the medication helps, Sharon. And I'm doing okay too, Axel. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a morning, but I've been really, really looking forward to coming and spending this time with you guys today. I'm really, really excited for this one. It's gonna be a lot of fun. What I keep feeling overwhelmingly before this tutorial for about the last hours, I just want to have fun. I just want to sit down and paint for a couple hours and have fun. I just want to have fun. That's all I want to do. I just want to have fun. So that is what we are going to do today. We are going to have fun. I've got my music on. Make sure you've got something that makes you happy to listen to in the background, maybe to bop along to, or something to listen to that you enjoy. We're going to walk through this project. So again, we are going to be creating this guy, this pattern. We'll talk about corners and stuff probably in part 2. So today's only part 1. So we'll talk about the corners in part 2. Let's just get this down pat first. If we have time to talk corners today, we definitely will, but I want to see where we get to in these couple hours. we're going to talk top dots, we're going to talk detail, we're going to talk a lot of spacing, we're going to do the grid lines, the whole shebang on this one. You can use any 3 colors that you have. Now on this one, I did a couple slightly different things. So instead of continuing to add white to the blue for the top dots on the blue, I used an aqua, a bright aqua green. And then I didn't go super light on the purple, and because I wanted the white in between these dots to really stand out. And then for this one, I went to kind of almost a corally pink. I added some yellow and white. So that's an option as well. If you have some yellow, yellow is a great way to brighten up these colors. It would give you the aqua and it would give you the kind of corally pink to go on this. But you can do that again with any colors that you're using. So for example, if you're using red, having a little bit of yellow around will help you to maybe do a red large dot on the bottom, then orange for your first top dot, and then yellow for your second. It can kind of go in that kind of a layering effect. What other one would we do? Green. Green would be really cool, going from like a dark green to a bright green. Yellow, going from yellow to white, or you can go reverse with yellow. You can go a big yellow circle, then an orange top dot, and a red tiny top dot. You can play around with this as much as you want. So don't feel that you're stuck with these colors. You can use any colors that you have, but you want to choose 3 main colors. So I'm going to choose the purple, the pink, and the blue. So I'm going to be mixing colors today too. I'll show you all the paints that I use to get these colors. I'll show you the brands. I'll show you the color names so that you've got those if you want them to do these exact colors. I am in Canada, so anybody who's in the US, the brands and everything might not translate for you, but I will at least tell you what I have, okay? So we're going to keep that aside, and for right now, I'm going to keep reading the comments, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a noise warning. It's going to sound like a hairdryer because I'm going to try this paint with my heat gun here. So let me go through, and when it's the base coat, I don't mind because it's probably not going to crack. If it was doing this with dots, I definitely wouldn't do this with dots. I'd be afraid they'd crack because it's a bunch of paint kind of pooled in one spot as opposed to spread thin. How do you keep the brush strokes from being all liney? On the base coat, that is going to be part brush. So not having a super wiry brush that doesn't have a super wiry bristle, like a nice soft brush is going to be part of it. Long sweeping strokes and lots of paint. If you're getting it super grainy, you're probably not using enough paint. Don't be afraid to put more paint on and then multiple coats. I never put enough paint on at first when I first started, and it was getting streaky, and I was like, I can't do this. I have to put on like 10 coats of paint to get rid of this. No, I could put on 3 coats of thicker paint, and it would work perfectly well. All right. This is an old embossing gun that I have, so I guess it's a good thing I didn't get rid of it because I use it for resin and for drying canvases now. All right, let me catch up on the comments, and we're going to come in here. Audrey, you're fine. Audrey's sitting at the gate. She wants out, but she's going to have to deal with it. That's my cat. Sorry, guys. Hi, Jen. Is there a list of materials? Yes, in the description of the event, there is a list of the supplies that you would need. I don't include colors, I don't include paints, and I don't include tool sizes. Because I don't follow a specific pattern that is pre-planned. I'm going to show you how to do the design with what you have and what you're looking for in the size of your tools, but I don't give tool size listings or paint colors. I'll show them to you as I'm using them, but they're not provided ahead of time for those. Hey Autumn, how you doing? All right, so I'm going to keep this up a little bit higher. Hopefully you guys can still see this, and we're going to talk about getting this divided up. So this is a 12-inch canvas, so I know that I can put my ruler down here, which is a 12-inch ruler, and I'm going to find 2 different spots. Where I'm going to mark the 6 inches because it's just a little bit of a stretch. It's going to make my life easier when it comes to trying to visualize these lines and straightening them up. This always screws me up too, Christy, when I go to do my lines, if the lines in the paint aren't lining up. So then I'm going to draw this one. And then I'm going to draw one other 6-inch. So you're going to divide it in half. So you first want to divide it in half, and then I'm going to, the reason I put this out from the edge a little bit is because I want to be able to very easily line this up with another point. So I can either do that on the center line, or I can do it across this way. Audrey, you're fine. Oh my goodness, she's so dramatic. So I'm now going to put in this other line that is perpendicular to the first to create quarters in the center. The other option that you can do is you can go corner to corner, but I have found that it doesn't always work out super well. It always seems to kind of be a little bit off. So measuring in from the sides has always been a little bit easier for me. So then the next thing that I want to do, now the other option is if you have any stencils, if you have any stencils to make your life a little bit easier, instead of getting out your protractor to find your angles to continue splitting these sections in half, if you could always lay down a stencil and then use those lines to connect. Okay. If you don't have the stencil, then using a protractor to find your 45-degree angles on either side, right here and right here, and continuing and doing the same thing on this side. Again, if I didn't have that stencil, just using the protractor to find the 45 and the 135, and then I can connect those corners now. See, and my ruler it's 12 inches this way, but I can't get it straight, right? So I want to try and get this through the center, and then I'm going to let it come out to wherever it's going to come out over here in the corner. Because this particular guideline isn't going to mean a whole heck of a lot once we get out to the corner. It'll help a little bit. And bear with me, I can't see the comments right now, so I'm going to finish up these couple of guidelines, and then I will just come in to see if there's any questions that you want me to answer before I move on to using the compass to draw some circles. There we go. All right, so I'm going to bring the camera back down, and I'm going to see if we have any questions that I need to answer. Hi, Noreen. I saw your email. I just haven't had a chance to double check to make sure I have 2 black mugs for you. I'm 99% sure I do, but I will double check that after this tutorial, okay, and let you know for sure. Oh, no. Can you guys hear me okay now? Is the audio okay now, Autumn? Hi, Kim. You can use a regular pencil. I use watercolor pencil crayon. I used to, up until a couple of months ago when my friend Jan sent me some watercolor pencil crayons, I used to use charcoal pencils, and any of them will erase with an eraser, or you can use like a wet cotton swab to wipe off the guidelines for that. If you use a normal HB pencil, then it is going to have to be an eraser that you use to get the guidelines off. Can I show the stencil again? Sure. So I got these on maybe Amazon, I think. You can get some really cool sets on Amazon that have 4 or 5 different stencils. I'll show you the different ones that I have here that I can put my hands on anyway. That's another one exactly like that. There's this one. I'm trying not to scratch the canvas. There's this one. And then I have a big one as well that has more divisions. So for example, when I'm looking at this one actually doesn't have a division that goes corner to corner. It actually divides everything in 3. So it gives you another way to divide it out. Okay, so these stencils, like I said, you can get them on Amazon. They've got some great kits of stencils, dotting tools and nail dotting stylus tools for like $20 that you can get a really good set. Dot Art Depot is another great place to go for stencils, dotting tools, that sort of thing. DIY Mandala Stones is where I got my dotting tools that I use. They are on Etsy. Trying to think what else. I got the canvas panels at Michael's. Oh, Audrey, stop trying to escape. You're fine. I got them at Michael's. They're 12 by 12. And we're going to start putting on some compass lines here. Well, let me just check and see. Okay, good. Awesome. You guys can hear me now? Okay, awesome. Wonderful. Okay, good, Autumn. Awesome. I'm getting close to being brave enough to try this. Yay! You totally should. I have that huge one. So do you have one this size, Christy? You can use any size you want to for today. We're not going to be finishing this piece no matter what. So any size you want to do today. We're never going to finish a piece on our tutorials. That's just not going to happen. We're going to go through it until we can get you kind of on that pattern so that you can finish it on your own at some point too. So whatever size you want to go jump into, have at it as long as it feels fun to you. Where and how do we send money to get this recording? So on the on my website, which is mandalaloveaffair.com, there is a link to this event, and currently the price sits at $1. So the reason for that is that I wanted to be able to always say, you know, tips of any amount are always appreciated, even though they're certainly not mandatory. So that's for $1. And if you choose to tip $5 or more, so add a quantity of 5 or more, then I will send you the link to this recording by end of day on Monday at the latest, once I get it all edited and good to go. Okay, yeah, that's this one here. Yep. Use whatever size you feel seems like fun to you today. It is not going to, it's completely your choice. Even first time, jump in, have fun. It's up to you. If you want to try a smaller one for your first one, that is okay too. So with the compass, what I like to do sometimes is just kind of see how far out my compass line is going to go. I'm also using a Lazy Susan. I bought this for $13 at Canadian Tire. If you're using a large canvas, that can really help you, especially when you're drawing on your compass lines. But I did life without one for a long time, and just spinning, putting a towel underneath or a sponge underneath or something else that you can kind of spin, or you hold it still and you bring it around yourself. You don't have to spin it. That's my lazy way of doing it. And it's just, again, it's fun. And today's all about fun. So today might not necessarily be the most efficient way to do things, but it's going to be the most fun way. Hope that's okay with everybody. So you're going to draw a whole bunch of these guidelines. I started out at the edge, so that's going to be my largest circle on this piece. I still don't have to go out that far, but I've got it drawn out so that I know how potentially large this piece can be. I'm not doing any kind of measuring when I am shortening this distance for the compass. I'm just kind of moving it just a little bit and seeing how big of a space that would create. There are usually measurements on the side of your compass that you could move at a specific amount of space each single time as you move in while you're drawing your circles. You want to have a whole bunch of these. You're not going to necessarily paint by them, but it's going to be a really great guideline for you to know if you're keeping some good symmetry as you progress outwards, and help you to keep your spacing in a good spot. So when I say we're not necessarily following these, what I mean by that is that we're not going to live and die by these guidelines, but they're incredibly helpful to have, especially in the beginning, to get everything all centered and good to go. So let me see if there's any questions. You're welcome, Cindy. Yes, thank you, Autumn. Yes. So I upload all of my my tutorials, past, present, and future, onto my Patreon as well, or you can purchase them individually for $5 on my website. Totally up to you which option. And the reason I do this is because I always want this to be free so that anybody who just wants to sit and paint with me on a Saturday afternoon is able to do that. Because this is too fun. All right, you guys. So any questions about the guidelines? So however big your piece is, whether you're painting on a small piece of wood, something that's cut into a shape, you find your center, you divide it all out, then you put your guidelines. These are the important guidelines to have on a piece. If you're painting on glass or something clear, a trick that I really, really like is draw a grid out on paper and then put that piece of paper inside the glass and tape it down. So then you'll have a grid line if you want to create this on something that's clear glass. No reason at all. It's just how I felt like doing it, Christy. Yeah, no reason at all. I like to draw the big one just to see how big my piece can get. But you can do it in whichever way you want to. Nope, that was just me. No reason. All right, so I'll show you the dotting tools that I use. Actually, let's talk paint because we got to pick colors. So I have some empty little paint pots here that I'm going to use for this. I'm going to move this aside for now. And I am going to see if I can start with some of these. That's a multi-surface paint. That's a goopy one. So we're going to start with, I'm just going to mix the first 3 colors. So all of the top dot colors, we're not going to mix yet. We're just going to mix the colors for the main base dots. So for example, we're just going to pour the purple, the dark magenta, and the dark blue, and I think the white. I'll get the white ready as well. But that's all we're going to start with. Okay, so we're going to do the 3 darkest colors. So I'm going to do this blue. This blue for me is right out of the bottle. I get this blue. For those of you who've been on my tutorials before, you are going to know exactly which one I'm talking about. I love this blue. It's my favorite paint color of all time, I think. It's called Peacock Blue. It is Deco Art, Crafter's Acrylic. I get this at Dollarama. Give it a good shake. Yeah, it is. So one of these days, I think I'm going to have to do just an entire piece, just this color. I miss this color when I don't work with it for too long. So I'm just putting this into a little container. This is just my preferred way to use my paint. You can pour some paint into the lid of your bottle and work right out of that. You can use a paint palette. If that's comfortable for you, you can just use the side of a plate. That works too. I just prefer to do this, especially because I know I'm probably going to use these colors again. It keeps them from drying out, and it gives me a smaller container to kind of move around with all that. Now, what I'm thinking is... So I need a dark purple. So I am going to start with, got a couple different purples I'm going to mix. So I'm starting with Deco Art Americana Lavender, and I've got this darker purple velvet, and then I might even add in a little bit of this dark violet and see what I can come up with. The reason I'm doing this is partly just to test myself to see what I can do for mixing colors and to make sure I really have a good eye on what color it is I'm trying to create and not make it too dark, because if you make it too dark, it is going to blend into the background. So I want more of that one because I want more of that color purple. And then I'm going to put a little bit of the dark one in. Because sometimes straight out of the bottle isn't exactly what you want. You almost want to create something a little bit custom. I enjoy doing it anyway. I find it therapeutic to sit and stir the paint. So you can put your paints again in anything that you like. I get these little paint pots at Dollar Tree. You get 8 of them for $1.25, I think. So I have hundreds of these things lying around. They're everywhere. And then give it a really good stir. Make sure you get anything on the sides as well, because you are going to start to see that show up in the paint, and just to make sure it's really well mixed so that you don't get to the bottom and then have a completely different color to deal with. I'll make this a little bit darker. It's the nice bluey purple that I want it to be. I think I just want it a little bit darker. Just a skosh. I love watching the paint disappear and then kind of come back in ribbons when I'm stirring. Your paint is always going to dry darker than what is on your tool or your brush. I even want a little bit darker, I think. I'm getting greedy now. But it's so fun to just watch it come in there. But if you go too dark, and you want to test your consistency of your paints too, right? You want to make sure that you test your paints to see what they look like on a black background or on a white background, to make sure that you're getting the look that you expect. There's nothing worse than laying a paint color down, having not tested it, and then not being able to do anything about it in the middle of a painting. Except paint over it. It's really frustrating when it doesn't work out to be the consistency that you want. One example of what I mean is I painted this one, and believe it or not, that center dot started off as this color, this berry color. I don't know if you can see that. Let me see if I can get a light over here. See, that's how it's kind of a berry color. And that's the way it dried, almost black. So you want to test your paints whenever you possibly can as well, to make sure, again, that you're just getting the right finish and opacity and all of that good stuff. Do you have your thinner already in the bottles? I don't use any thinner. In the craft acrylic paints, you don't need to. If you're using heavy body acrylic paints like your Liquitex Basics, or just anything that's a thicker paint, then you would use pouring medium. And pouring medium, you can get that at Michael's, but that's only for the really heavy body paints. Now I think this one's actually going to be a good one. Yeah, that's the pink I want. That's the one I want for the base. Perfect. All right, so I already had it mixed up. If I didn't, you could take any kinds of pinks that you have and add little bits of purple, and that would get you to this kind of color here. So kind of a purpley, magenta-y kind of color. So I'm a big fan too of having neon pink on hand, because what you're going to see when you mix in some neon pink, you can get nice bright colors like that. Right? So this is the one that we're going to use, though. We're going to start with this one. Okay, so we've got the 3 colors, the 3 starting colors, and then I just need to find my white paint. And you know what? I don't know where it is, so I'm just going to pour myself a new container of white. Chances are, see, I put all my little paint pots over there, and then I don't keep track of them. And then all my multi-surface paint pots are over here. And then I don't keep track of them, and some of them dry out, and yeah. Hello, Belbeer. How are you? Love to you too, my friend. It's good to see you. All right. Let's see here. So yeah, so I use this straight out of the bottle, and it's a really good consistency. I see white everywhere, yeah. All right. But they are dried out, and I don't feel like mucking with them today. I don't want to. They're probably all half full and full of gummy stuff at the top, so that's a project for another day. All right, so again, let's do a quick refresher. We're going to start, and we are going to be laying down that center top dot first. And then you can, again, do this in whatever order that you want. You just want to repeat the order, okay? And then what you're going to do is we're going to be starting with these rows in here that are fairly small. So you want to find your smallest dotting tool. I'll show you my tools in a moment, but we're going to leave some space for those little tiny white dots to add that detail. So they're not going to be tightly packed dots going around the center circle. Okay. Do you ever mix metallic and flat paint colors? Not usually. I'll usually use one or the other. But it's totally possible. I've mixed white into gold before, and that's gone really, really, really pretty. All right, so let's look at the tools that I use. So I use a bunch of different ones. I use nail dotting stylus tools. These ones are actually clay sculpture tools that I got at Michael's. And this one's filthy. Oh my gosh. Gotta clean that off. So nail dotting stylus tools, these are clay sculpture tools as well. These particular set that I have has some silicone brushes on the end. This is great for wiping off paint if you make a mistake or want to make a change. And then, so they have these little tiny balls on the end, metal balls on the end. So this one-ended set had 5 different sizes. And they all had different types of little silicone brushes on the end. I love these ones. They've got a couple cool sizes. Then there are also the double-ended nail dotting stylus tools. I have ones like this, but that have wood handles on my website. These ones are old tools that I actually used to use for clay sculpture because I used to do polymer clay. So these are kind of my favorite because I've used them the most over the most number of years. But you can get them on Amazon. Like I said, I've got wooden handled ones on my website. There's all kinds of different ones out there. And then the nail dotting tool, the dotting tools that I use are from a company called DIY Mandala Stones. They say DIY Mandala Stones right on the tool, and then they are numbered. So that's a size 15. And this end is a size 16. They go in millimeters, and they go from 1 millimeter all the way up to 28 millimeters. So that's how I make a lot of my different sizes. I don't use the really large ones very often. That's why they're still so clean. But these are really great tools. You can get them on Etsy or on Amazon. They're DIY Mandala Stones. Now, you don't have to have any kind of fancy dotting tools to be able to do this. You can use the sharpened end of a pencil. You can use the unsharpened end of a pencil. You can use pencil erasers. You can use toothpicks. You can use nails. You can use wooden dowels. A set of drill bits is great because they already come in a bunch of different sizes. Anything that is flat and round that you can kind of put in order of smallest to largest. Okay, because you're going to want to gradually increase the size of your dots here. And I'll show you a couple of different ways to do that though. All right, let me scroll back and see here. Hey Rhea, how you doing? If I want my blue darker, would adding black work or do I need a different bottle? If you want it to be more of a navy blue, then yes, you could do black, but do like 1 drop of black, just the tiniest bit of black. You can also try adding purple. Sometimes that can make it a little bit darker. But you can use black, but it'll make it go a little more navy-ish. And it will, black works really, really quickly. You need a very, very tiny amount of black. Hi, Rex. Yeah. Yes, thank you, Sharon. Great minds. Oh, chopsticks. That's a great idea. Yes, you can dot with chopsticks. You can, the wooden dowels. Our friend Barb told me that you can sharpen the wooden dowels with a metal pencil sharpener. So any of the wooden dowels that you can buy like at Dollar Tree or Dollarama in a bag of 50 of them for like $2, you can sharpen them into different sizes. So all kinds of cool stuff that you can do there. So first things first, we're going to choose a center dot. And we're going to choose the size of our center dot. This is the one time that I'm going to use a fairly large one. I think I am actually going to go with the 27 millimeter. So choose one of the biggest ones that you have. Now you want it to be kind of proportional to the size of what you're creating. So for example, like on this little heart stone, I didn't use a size 27, I used a size 20. Like on smaller stones, I'm going to use like probably a 9 or a 10. So you want to kind of get an idea. So again, my canvas is 12 by 12. Now when I did this one, I wonder if I used the really large one on this one too. I did. You know what? I used a 26 or a 27 on this one too. And this is 8 by, not even 8 by 10 on this original one. So just choose a nice big one. Yes, absolutely. There you go, Chrissy. So we're going to do one large center dot and then here. So here, why don't we do it this way a little bit? I wonder if I can set this up here so that you guys can kind of see it. Kind of bring it in this way. How does that work? Can you guys see that okay? Does that work? Let's see if that works for a few minutes. Let me know. Because then I can start here. Let's just try it. Let's just see how it goes. All right, so I'm going to lay down my center dot first. Now when you're laying down the center dot, it's nice to have something drawn because then you can just go ahead and place it. If you're putting in a dot that's smaller than the smallest circle that you've drawn, then you have a couple different options. Number one, draw another smaller circle that will get you to the size of the tool that you want to use. Or you also have to just be watching where you're going to place that tool down before you actually set it down to make sure that it's centered properly. So watching where your tool gets bisected by these lines. So for example, like when I'm holding it here, I'm looking to make sure that it's about halfway on either side of here. Then I can look up and just try and find that center spot. If you can utilize the middle circle that you've drawn, your life's going to be a little bit easier. Crap. Okay, before you do that, stop. If you haven't put down your center dot yet, stop. Sorry. Go over your guidelines very lightly with an eraser. If you don't, it's going to build up a little bit of wax and it's going to change the size of your dots. If you have already put down your center dot, that is okay. We will still go in but if you haven't put your center dot down yet, go in with an eraser and lightly go over all of your pencil lines. Sorry, that is my big mistake, and I always forget to do this. The reason is so you want to erase it so you can still see it, but so that it's not quite so prominent. All of these pencils, no matter how chalky they are, they all have a little bit of wax in them. That wax can actually pinch your dots and make them a slightly different size. So you want to kind of get your guidelines down, but then go back over with an eraser. Don't worry about blowing all of this stuff off. Grab a paintbrush, or we'll wait until the center dot dries and continue on. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare everybody. And just kind of go over it very lightly. Okay, so that you've got this, so you can still see those lines, but they're not quite so prominent. Because it's really frustrating when you go to lay down a dot that's on top of a guideline and it doesn't keep its shape. It gets all pinchy. It's like somebody pinches it from the other side, from either side. Having technical difficulties, operator error. Yeah, that's me. That's me too. Totally doing this backwards. Please do not do as I do. I will not make life easy for you. Try and remember to erase your lines before you lay down your center top dot so that you don't have to worry about where your eraser shavings go. This is not the right order. All right, one more second here. go. Now, my solution to this is grabbing a paintbrush. Too late, Barb Blue. Yeah, I've done that too. Yeah, that is a nice thing about drawing digitally, isn't it, Axel? Still not going to be perfect. I'm still going to get stuff in there. Sorry, guys. This is what you get with my tutorials. But it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Because this happens in real life. I am not immune to these things. I tend to do a lot of things that make my life a little bit more difficult than it necessarily needs to be. And thanks for coming on that ride with me. Once it gets out to the edges, I feel a little more comfortable blowing it off. So I'm literally just going around. I lost all the comments. That's okay, Cindy. It's the mandalaloveaffair.com is the website. The link is in my bio if that's helpful at all. And then there will be a section when you come to the main screen. If you scroll to find the Paint With Me Facebook tutorials, that'll be the section there. And then let me just find it here. I'll tell you what, I'm going to move that aside for a quick second and we're going to find it, Cindy, and I'll show you. Let's see here. So we're going to open it up. We're going to go to mandalaloveaffair.com. So when you come to, if you're on your phone, you'll see one here. It says Paint With Me Facebook Live Tips and Recordings. And then when you scroll down, no, I put it up. Did I not put it up? Well, that's probably why you can't find it, Cindy. That's all me. I'm going to find it right now. Did I leave it as a draft? That wouldn't be smart. Why would I have done that? March 6th. Okay, so it says Facebook Live, March 6th. Starburst. There is no picture though, so that's probably why. So, there we go. It's this one here. And I put it as $5. I will change that back down to $1. I don't know why I did that. 100. Save. Okay, hopefully that helps. I'm on fire today, guys. I am on absolute freaking fire today. All right, that's okay, because we're still going to have fun. No matter what, we're going to have fun. That's the only goal. And to create some pretty stuff. But we're going to have fun. So, what's new? All right, here we go. Here we go. Cooking with gas. Here we go. Almost done. Beautiful. Okay, you're welcome, Cindy. Rex, I lost all the comments because I fumbled my phone and took myself out of the live. Well, I'm glad you're back. Yes, I will definitely tell you. So for the center dot, I used size 27. Okay. So for the center dot, I use size 27, and we are going to go with a size... let me look. I'm going back and forth between a 3 and a 4. We're going to go with a size 3 for the first row. So because I did the blue, I'm going to decide my order. So whatever colors you're using, decide the order that you want to go in. So I want to go blue, pink, purple. No, sorry, blue, purple, pink. Oh no, wait a second. No, I lied. We're going to alternate it. I just realized here I didn't do the order. I actually did an alternating. So blue's going to be my main color, and then I do purple, blue, pink, blue, purple, blue, pink, blue. So figure out which of your 3 colors you want to be the main color. If you want it to be pink or purple, you can do that. I'm going to stick with the blue. And then I'm going to go with the purple. So if you want to recreate the same one that I am, then we'll keep going with this. And we're going to go purple and then blue. So I'm going to do a size 3. Yes, 27 millimeter. Aw, thanks for popping in to say hi, Jan. Sending you love, my dear. I hope you have a good day. All right. So I'm starting with the size 3, and I'm going to dot at noon, because I want to create a ring around this whole thing, okay? So I'm dotting at 12 noon. Here, I'm going to actually bring this in closer again so you get a better angle, okay? Then I'm going to spin it around, and I'm going to dot at noon again. I don't know yet how many dots in round 1. All I know is you're going to keep dividing them in half and continuing to leave a space. So we're on dot number 2, dot number 3. So I keep turning it around and dotting at 12 noon, right? It helps me keep the lines straight. Don't worry if they're off center from your guidelines. It's okay. If one is off center, make them all off center, but perpendicular and completely across from each other. Okay? Yeah, this one is going to be 1, 2. I'm going to be able to put 2 dots in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This one's going to be 12. I don't know until I get to this point, because I could put one in here, but then I'm not going to have enough space here to have a dot and put a white detail in there. So I'm going to have to do 2 in between here. If you think you have enough space, you want to leave enough space in between these dots so that you can put in that tiny white micro dot, right? And if I tried to squeeze 3 dots in there, I wouldn't have had that space. So this one is going to be 12. This is all about how can I evenly divide it up, right? So that still gives me space that I can put those white detail dots in the middle, and I'll do those right away to show you. Okay. So on the dotting tool, you want to just submerge the whole tip of the tool into the paint. You're going to need to be probably dipping before every dot. Okay, so you're reloading the paint with each one. So just stick the tip in and you know the rest. Spacing can be challenging, but this is because of the size tool that I did doing the 2 in between. What you can do is if you find that you made these first original 4 too big and that you're going to have to try and figure out these 2 in between, then you can always remove them and go in with a smaller size, because what you could also do is do those original 4, then do these lines, and then just divide them in half and still have space. But it was just because I did too large of a tool. I've just seen something that I've been doing so different from you, and it's going to make a huge difference going forward. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, unless it's going to make a difference for me, is it something I should be doing? Okay, so just to kind of, again, give you this perspective for the spacing in here, right? I'm going to go in with my white, and this tool that I'm going to use is called a micro dotter. So this is going to be the smallest tool that you've got. A really sharpened pencil would work. A sharp nail would work for this as well. Okay, so this is my micro dotter tool. But yeah, a very sharp pencil, a nail, anything like that. A toothpick would work really well also. So I'm going to dip into the white. And then I'm going to put a dot in the middle. So what's really important here is that I don't want this white dot to run into those purple dots in any way. I want there still to be space in between, right? If I go any larger with this white dotting tool, with this white paint, I'm going to run into those colors. Do you see how there's still that little bit of spacing on either side? That's what you want. You want that black to show through. Okay. So that's how I'm putting that in the middle. So that's what I wanted to leave space for. So if these two purple dots were any closer, I really wouldn't have that space for this dot without risking the white and the purple running together. I could potentially make a smaller dot, but it would be a bit of a crapshoot and hard to really control for that consistency. I can never figure out how you were getting your spacing, but now I see I was doing mine always on the lines and you did the original 4 on the lines and then, yeah, so once I get the original 4 down, I tend to ignore the lines quite consistently and just look for where is that midpoint that my eye is drawn to divide that space in half. 12 purple, 12 white. I did 8 each on mine because my center dot is smaller. Yes, if your center dot is smaller, then you're going to be doing fewer dots. And it all depends on the size of your tool, right? But yeah, you just dip the tip in, get a little bit of paint on it. You want to be cleaning off your tool quite regularly as well, because if the paint builds up on it too much, then it's going to change the size of your dot as well and could change the shape. Yes, toothpicks work really well for the small dots tool too. How you making out, Christy? You doing okay? If it's already wonky, keep going or erase and go back to start. How wonky? I think just keep going. Unless it's something that's going to drive you crazy and keep you from being able to move forward. When it's in the first couple of rows, it tends not to matter too much. You can probably recover pretty well and pretty easily going forward, honey. So for the next row, because I'm alternating blue, I'm going blue, purple, blue, pink. I'm going back to blue. You're laughing at yourself. Are you okay? So that first purple row was size 3. I am now going to do size 4 for my next row of blue. So I still turn my piece so that I'm always dotting at 12 o'clock because I find it much easier to create a straight line from my eye across this way to here as I do when then trying to pull a line down here. I find I have to crouch and kind of lean back quite a bit to be able to see if that line is straight, and it usually ends up being quite off if I do. So I like much better being able to go across this way. I think you're totally gonna be able to recover from whatever feels wonky to you right now, honey. I think you'll be fine. My purple dots are very inconsistently spaced and further or closer to the blue in the center. That's okay. And that's all it is, right? That's the hardest part, is it's all practice. And every single time you do something that you don't like, you remember for next time, go, well, I don't like that. So I'll try and show you a couple other spacing tricks as we go on here. I just want to take a sip there because it's a really good point, Christy, because your spacing of how far away from the center dot you're going is also important, not just the spacing in between this way, right? So let's talk about that with this one. Now, I could put my next dot right down here where can I put this so you can see it? I could put it right down here, right next to that white dot. But then you see half of the dot is taken up by the purple one next to it. So I'm not leaving a nice open space for the next set of white detail dots to go in. So instead of setting it here, I want to set it out about here. Okay, so you want to be able to leave that space. So when I'm going across it this way, I'm not only, where's my pointer? I feel like a teacher. So I'm not only looking to try and make sure that I'm spacing it evenly between these two purple dots, I'm also very mindful of how much space is between that white dot and my tool. And that's what I'm going to try and mirror going all the way around. Okay, so let's try that. So I'm going to dip the tool into the paint, and I want it to be out at about here. So see how I'm not touching the tool down yet? And now that I know it's where I want it to be, then I can put that down. Now your paint's going to travel too, right? So it's going to give a little bit of movement there. I still, for the first couple rows, will do the dotting at 12 o'clock. So again, I know about how far I want it to be away from that white dot, and it's centered between the two purple, and then I put the tool down. This is a size 4. The first row, the purple, was a size 3, so you want to go up slightly. If you don't have completely different size tools, thank you so much for asking, Christy, because this really helps. Just adding some extra paint. So for example, if I was to just kind of dip in and put this much paint on for a size 3, I could go in and grab some extra paint and see how it's kind of almost dripping and thicker. Then you can pull a little bit more paint and create a slightly larger dot. So the amount of paint you put on the end of the tool is going to impact the size of the dots. Okay? I hope that that spacing tip helps. So I'm not only looking for, is it in the between the purple, it's how far away from that white dot am I going to set this down? Oh, I switched back to the 3. I'm like, why is that so small? It doesn't look right. So I'm going to go back in with my 4 and right over top. Okay, so I'm still going at 12 o'clock so I can get that nice straight line. Does it make a difference if the tool has a ball at the end or is totally flat? Nope. Nope. If it has a ball at the end, it's really good for the walking dots. So you know where I make those kind of petal designs where it looks like the dot is getting smaller and smaller? That's when the ball-ended tools really come in handy. The flat ones are great for this kind of design. I find that I get my dots all spaced weird and in different sizes based on the 3 Ps. How much paint, pressure, and pace. Totally. That's awesome. Yes, totally. How much paint you put on is going to impact your spacing and your sizing. How much pressure? Do you push the tool all the way down, or do you just let the kind of paint pool off of there? And then the pace. If you're going too fast, your dots are going to be wildly inconsistent. That's a great phrase. I think that's brilliant, Autumn. There's your $1 million course right there. Paint, pressure, and pace. I love it, Autumn. So there's, see? Okay. And then now I'm still going to keep dotting straight across from me. Still dotting straight across. Right? So I'm watching the spacing between the 2 purple from the row before and how the distance away from the white dot. So the distance between the 2 purples and the distance away from the white. Depending on where you're at with your guidelines too, you can say that I'm almost at this next guideline, depending on where your guidelines have hit, right? I have seen some artists that they actually measure out their guidelines based on the size tool that they're going to use. So they've actually created a 1 millimeter, a 2 millimeter, a 3 millimeter, a 4 millimeter, a 5 millimeter, and so on and so forth, space. So all of their guidelines are different spaces based on the size tool. I've seen some artists that actually we'll plan it out to that depth and that level to be able to create those guidelines to help them out. So you can get really, really in depth with guidelines if you want to. So now I still have that size. Now it's a little bit small. The space is almost a little bit too big. So now that I'm looking at it, I think I'd like to make these just a little bit bigger. Yeah, so if I go across from me, it's much easier for me to have a straight line across this way rather than trying to pull a straight line down here. We all naturally lean one way or the other, right? So we want to kind of keep an eye on that. So I'm going to actually go over this with a larger tool. I'm actually going to go over this with a 5 because see how big this space is? It's a little bit bigger than it needs to be. So you know what? I'm actually just going to go back in with the 4 and I'm just going to add some extra paint to a couple of these. You can always go back over it. I just want to make these a little bit chunkier. Just a little bit. I like them chunky. So using the P's, right? The paint, the amount of paint's on here, the pressure. I'm not going to modify the pace because I want this to be consistent. Right? Now there's some people getting home, you guys, so I apologize. The dogs might start to bark here in a minute, so I apologize. Give me a little warning for the noise. There we go. So I'm just making them slightly bigger. So you're looking at how big of a space now is in between there. That's how I looked and said, you know what? It's proportionally, it was a much significantly larger space in between the two blues than it was in between the purples. So if I'm only going up slightly in the size of the white dot, I don't want a huge space for it to fill. So I can do the white again now, or I can wait until I get a few more rows on. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm actually not painting today. I'm just watching, and thank you for going so slow and allowing us to ask so many questions. Oh my gosh, you're welcome. I'll do the best I can to help. All right. So now we're going on to, so we went blue, purple, blue. Now we're going to go pink. Time for some pink. Oh, thank you, Autumn. That's so kind. Send me your TikTok username so I can tag you when I make a video about it. All right, so this time I'm using a size 6. I'm not sure that it's going to be big enough, but I'm going to still try, but just using a lot of paint to see what that does, what kind of size that gives me here. So I'm dipping the tool in quite a bit, getting quite a bit of paint on it. That's going to be a good size, I think. So now I'm still going across. And again, I'm looking at how far of a distance now. I don't have a white dot to judge against, so now I'm judging against that purple dot. How far from that purple dot am I? Where am I on this guideline here? How far in between these dots does it feel like I'm going? There's a bunch of different ways that you can kind of look at it to kind of see what the spacing feels like, right? So just keep going with that. We are learning every day, right? We never stop. Never, never, never stop. I don't want to stop. There's so many interesting things out there. There we go. I'm going to put a little more paint on this one. Make it a little bit juicier. And then I'm going to go in. So I was still painting, hitting at 12 o'clock. Doing it again. Now you can go, now one of the reasons why I go every other one is because, here, let me show you with this one. So now I have another measuring point, right? If I was just going one after the other, I would be missing this spacing here that I get from this judge, really, that I get from this pink dot here. I'm going to add a little more paint to that one, make it a little juicier too. So now when I'm putting this in here, it's not just is it evenly spaced by the blue ones, is it the proper distance from the purple, but is it an even space between the two pinks, right? So it gives you just another bar that you can measure against when you're trying to figure out your spacing. And when you have more reference points, you have a higher chance of getting the spacing in a really good space, right? Does that make sense? Approximately what is the measurement from one circle to the next? I would say approximately 1 centimeter, but I didn't measure it when I was drawing them on, to be honest with you. And it's looking like from going from the in to the out. Oh, sorry, the pink dots are a size 6, but a large 6. So I'm putting a lot of paint on the tool. So I'm guessing that with a piece this large, that I started with such a large center dot, I could be going up 2 millimeters, going up 2 sizes in every tool with each row that I go. So like for now, for the next row of blue, I'm actually going to go up to a size 8 because I just used a 6 and it's just big enough. Yeah, it's approximately 1 centimeter. Let me see if I got that right. Yeah, about 1 centimeter. And that's the nice thing too, because on your compass, right, you might have one of these. Oh, so that's an inches one. This is a centimeter one on this side. So if I want the lines to be 1 centimeter apart, I'm just going to move it from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 and so on to create that even spacing there. So now I'm going to the blue again. Okay, so just keeping another quick look here at the original, right? This is where we're at so far. We are at the equivalent of right here. Okay, so now we're gonna do our next blue row, and then we're gonna just keep going. And I'm going to assume, and I will keep you posted as I go, I am going to assume that I'm going to need to go up by 2 millimeters by 2 tool sizes on each one, but we'll see what we can do here. So I am going to go with a size 8 on this one. When I'm looking at to see if the dot is big enough, actually let me bring it back down here a little bit and show you what I'm looking for here. I am looking for this circle to not go past the halfway mark of the 2 circles on either side. So see when I divide those pink ones up and I still have a little space between my tool and the blue dot? That's kind of what I'm looking at. So if I make this dot any smaller, so if it goes smaller than like 1/4 of the way in, like if it was smaller than the edge, then that's too small for what I want. So I want it to be a little bit bigger to slightly go over, but I don't want it to exceed halfway through either of those two. Okay? So that's the other thing that I'm looking for when that comes to that spacing. I'm going to raise this up a little bit. I'm going to actually turn this light off because I think it's giving us some glare that we don't need. Pull that up there. There we go. That's a little bit better. So again, I'm using a size 8 and I'm dotting across from me. And then we go across again, and I move this where you can see it. Dotting every other one, because then this is just putting down more access points for me to get some extra access points and reference points for spacing for the rest of the dots, right? Yeah, it removes some of the reference points for these particular dots, but overall it'll make a difference because then the ones that I put down in between will be really nice and centered because I've got another reference point. So again, this is a size 8. This, I am using quite a bit of paint on this, so it's a large 8. So I kind of have that designation in my head. Is it a large 8 or is it a small 8? Or is it a normal 8? Because it all depends on the 3 Ps. I'm loving that so much, Autumn. That's so friggin' cool. And then we go here. And one more. So these are going to get large really, really quickly. So that's the only other setback that you would have with doing a large canvas is if you only have tools up to a certain size and not be able to go super large, right? Yeah, I'm going to do the white dots, but this time I'm going to wait, and I'm going to wait until some of these dry and then go back in and fill the white dots. Oh, have a good afternoon, Cindy. I'm glad you were able to pop in. Does the white dot increase in size as well? Yes, but it seems to increase at a slower rate than the larger dots. The reason that I say that is because once we get out to the edge, right, I don't want this dot, like when we see how much of this space these dots take up, it doesn't take up that much space out here. So it's almost like not only does the dot size increase, but the space in between the white dot and the side dots increases as well. Whereas like in here, right, it was super tight. There wasn't a ton of space between there. So they do increase, but not to the same speed and size that the other ones would. Thank you, Sonia. They're pretty, eh? They're fun. These ones are fun colors. All right, so now I'm looking for my size 10 tool. And we're going to go in with the next row of purple. And we're just going to keep going here. Do you always go bigger as you move out? Yes. You don't have to. You can create rings of other colors if you'd like to. But to create this starburst effect, then yes, you need to go larger as you go out from the center. All right, let me move this over here a little bit. Let's even put it here. And we'll do a couple of rows. So still dotting at 12 o'clock. All right, and still doing every other one. Every other one. Here we go. The Lazy Susan was one of my favorite purchases, you guys. I gotta say. And for $13, I was looking at them online before I bought one, and they were all like $35, $40 a piece, like on Amazon and stuff. I'm like, that's insane. I'm not paying that kind of money. And then I walked into Canadian Tire, and they had bamboo ones for $13.99. I'm like, I will take a few of those, please. I think I bought 3 or 4 of them that time. I've got a couple that I'm going to paint too. And this is where you can kind of get into the zen of it, right? So just slowly increasing your size and spinning it around. So that was a size 10. Now I'm going to go to a 12. Back to the blue, because I'm going blue, purple, blue, pink, blue, purple, blue, pink. So now I'm going to find my size 12. Is that it? Yep, that's it. For the next blue row. Let's see if there's questions, sorry. So the purple is a size 10. Yes, the purple is a size 10. Position seems to fit the 3 Ps as well. So 4 Ps, paint, pressure, position, and pace. Damn, lady. That's brilliant. Paint, pressure, position, pace. I feel like I need to write this down. Autumn. Paint, pressure, position, pace. Freaking brilliant, lady. Freaking brilliant. So yes, the purple was a size 10. That's a 10 millimeter. So in these DIY Mandala Stones tools, the size 12 stands for 12 millimeter. Now, the one thing to know when you're looking at the ball stylus tools, I have yet to see one that has them measured. Sometimes you'll be able to find measurements on the product listing on the website. Just know that you don't usually get those when you get them in the mail. I certainly don't have them on the tools that I have. All I know is they go from some small ones to some big ones, right? I've never measured these ones to see where they compare, but after a while, you're going to start to recognize, you know, I don't have any ball stylus tool that is going to create a size 12 dot. I can probably go up to, so what was this? This was a 3, that was a 6, this was a 6, so I can probably go up to about a 6, maybe a 7. Maybe. I don't even think that big. Probably 5 or 6, I think, is the largest that it'll go with these dotting tools. So just keep that in mind. You won't have measurements or labels usually on these kind of dotting tools, the double-ended ones, but the DIY Mandala Stones ones, you definitely do. So the purple was a size 10. So now we are going to do a size 12 for the next row of blue. That's okay, Sonia. I hope that's helpful. You're welcome, Melinda. Yay, you got the video to work on. I'm fantastic. If that's my win today, I'll take it. You're amazing. I've got 2 Autumns on here. Autumn Marie, I'm glad your video is working. Autumn Gibbon, that's a win. That's a big win. That's a big damn win. And practice. Yep, we could add practice in there. What other P's? Brilliant. Perseverance. Look at all the P's. Barfit Pepsi. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Pepsi's on the list. I wrote it down. I got my list. See? So it was the 4 P's. It's now the 7 P's. Pepsi. It's there. Is there a P word for fun, I wonder? Oh my gosh, are you serious? You guys are both Autumn Marie? You guys are so sweet. I love watching and learning. Oh, good. I'm glad. I'm glad you're enjoying it. All right, let's keep going. So we're going to a size 12 for the next row of blue. So I've got lots of paint on the tool. So now this one is actually a little bit smaller than what I want. So I might have to start going up by 3 millimeters now. See how it fits in between there? That spacing is a little bit less than what I want. So the size 12 is actually a little too small. So I'm going to actually move to a size 13 for the blue ones. And going back to that spacing that I was looking at before, I'll show you. Where's my tool here to show you? So when I was looking at this before, oh no, that one actually is still pretty good. I totally lied. This one is still good. We're still going to stick with the 12 because we've got a good ratio between that and the center of the purples. Okay, so we will stick with the 12. Be okay with changing your mind and changing it back as many times as possible. Play. You guys are amazing. Play is a big word for me, so yes. Pleasure, yes. This is so fun. You guys are amazing. Pepsi and Pop. You guys are awesome. Love it. Thank you guys. This is going to be so fun. All right, so I'm going to keep going with the 12. Okay. I am putting lots of paint on it though, so I would consider this to be a large 12. And I'm going to even add some extra paint onto there. So this is a large 12. Really dipping the whole end of this tool in there, getting lots of paint on there. And we're going to keep going. There. For anybody who's new to the lives, of course, I'm listening to Jason Mraz. I was actually thinking about doing a post or a video or something about this. You know, one of the people that I listen to a lot is Gary Vaynerchuk. And the one thing that he says is that if you're having a hard time, if there's a lot of negativity around you and you are around people who are really negative or hurtful or any of those things, or if life is really, really heavy, the best thing you can do for yourself is every spare waking minute that you have, fill your ears with positivity. And it is what helped me. It's what saved me. I'm completely convinced of it. You know, I'm not a positive person all the time. I struggle all the time. But I know what my struggle is now, and I know more how I can handle it. And I know I have a toolbox full of things that I can do to not fix any of that stuff, but to give me a little bit of relief. And one of those things is, again, filling my ears with positivity. So I have a bunch of things. That's when I stopped watching anything negative on TV, anything heavy. I could only watch light, fluffy stuff. So that's another reason why I watch a lot of Lord of the Rings, a lot of New Girl, a lot of Friends, all of that sort of stuff. But it was part of filling my head with positivity, right? Filling my ears with positivity, filling my ears with things that made me feel good at all costs. That was my number one job. And one of the things that I think is really interesting is I catch a lot of slack for listening to so much Jason Mraz sometimes. And we're like, he's so poppy and he's so this and he's so that. I'm like, he is so friggin' positive. He is my affirmation. Singing his songs every day is better than any affirmations that I could ever come up with on my own or be given or anything. So find what it is that brings you that joy, that just makes life feel lighter and makes life feel better and makes you not feel alone, whatever that thing is. Just my little tangent there. Positivity. I didn't write it down, Autumn. Positivity. Wasn't even trying. This is amazing. I listen to solfeggio rhythms and binary beats. Yes. When I sleep, there's an 11-hour loop of Abraham Hicks meditation. I listen to that every night. You can fill your ears with positive stuff. So that's why 99.9% of the time, if you are here on one of my lives, you will be hearing some Jason Mraz. It's just going to happen. Okay, and I've gone up to a size 16. The reason I've gone up to a 16, you could go up to a 15, Rex, but I've gone up to the 16 because my pink is a little bit waterier and it's not as thick as the other two paints. So I know that it's not going to travel as well. Your paint consistencies between paint is going to make a big difference as well. So because it is a thinner paint, I need to go to a larger tool than what I would use if I was going to be putting down the blue or the purple. So that is why I've gone up to a 16. Now, when I go back to do the blue, I'll probably go up to a 17 because this technically should be a 15 if I was doing a blue color. So I'm kind of keeping that math in my head going, if this was blue, I wouldn't be using a 16. I'd be using a 15 because the paint consistency is different. So when it's time to do the next one, I'm going to go up 2 from 15. Or up 3 from 15, sorry, which will be actually, an 18. Because we have to go up by 3 now, I think. Gets to be a lot of trial and error to see if your dot sizes are going in there. So yeah, I'm using a 16 right now. That's the part that matters. When we get to the next one, I'll let you know what ends up actually working out as opposed to just in theory in my brain right now. And if you're looking for anything positive to listen to, if you do like Jason Mraz's voice at all, I cannot recommend his new album more. It's a total game changer. The album's called Look for the Good. But it is probably, of all of the albums, I've been listening to him since his first album came out, and I can tell you that in my opinion, I think this is the best album he's ever done. All right, a couple more, and we're gonna keep going. I'm gonna add in one or two more rows, and then we'll go back in and do some more of the white ones in the center detail. We are going to have to let this dry a little bit though, because I don't want to be reaching over. So why don't we pause for a second? I'm going to actually let this dry for a quick minute. And I'm going to check on comments. And then we'll come in and we'll do some white. So the reason I'm letting this dry, you guys, is because with this paint being as wet as it is, there is a high probability that I'm going to put my hand in paint while I'm going through these dots. So I want to wait just a tiny little bit of it. Let me scroll back. We love the tangents. I'm so glad you do. I often wonder, especially to anybody who's new, like, what is she talking about? This is not dot painting. What is she talking about? This group has been a wonderful positive in my very difficult, isolated year. Aw, Rex, I love you. Yes, Abraham Hicks is amazing. And it's funny because at the beginning of this live, I said, it's been a morning. Had a morning, but I'm good. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be sitting and painting. I've been looking forward to it all day. But it's so funny because one of the realizations I had when I was on my way home this morning was I haven't been listening to Abraham Hicks lately, and I have not been doing the things that I need to do to keep my energy in a good place. So that was a bit of a kick in the butt. So this afternoon, I'm going to maybe continue painting this. And just to finish off the first base layer, because my goal is that at the end of, before we start next Saturday, we all have these 3 colors done, our whole space is filled, and these little white details are done. Then we can go in and do top dots, and we can keep your paints if you've pre-mixed them, and then we can do the corners as well if we want to. But yeah, it's wonderful that we have the ability to recognize and say, I feel off, what's different, right? And I think one of the things that I am not good at is checking in with myself more regularly and say, how are we feeling? How are we doing? Are we okay? What do we need right now? What does our body need? What does our mind need? What does our heart need? I don't do that as often as I would like to. And I think that there would be a lot of benefit in doing it more often. So that's just something to look forward to, I guess, right? That's okay. That's okay, Axel. Abraham Hicks talks a lot about transformation, but it's a lot of law of attraction stuff. And now it's not some of the law of attraction stuff that you might hear about that's like, envision yourself wearing the diamond necklace and it will come to you. It's not stuff like that. It's about how can we influence what's going on around us by taking care of our own energy. And Abraham Hicks's perspective on all of this has always just made sense to me, and it's always just felt good to me. I got a little pink paint there, got distracted. And so I find that just listening to them on YouTube, I get a lot of peace of mind and some good affirmations and reminders of things where I want my focus to be, how I want to spend my time, how I want my energy to be spent, right? And thinking your energy is like a bank account, right? We don't want to overspend it. We want to be frugal with it, and we want to spend it on the things that we really want to do. Rex, so when we were first all in grade school learning how to write and we had those pages with lines on them? Yes. I started doing that to practice with each one of my tools. Oh, that's a great idea. That's a wonderful idea, Rex. That's awesome. Create it as a digital download and sell it on Etsy. I'm not kidding. Spotify has a beautiful playlist called Pop Goes Classical that orchestral covers of pop songs. Oh, that's awesome. Nice. Right? What brings you joy? Do what brings you joy. Yes, Autumn Marie, there's puppies. There are 2 dogs that live here. We have a Bernese Mountain Dog German Shepherd Cross. He's our little old man. And then we have a Great Pyrenees named Finnegan. And that's the dog you heard, the polar bear. You're such a great teacher. Oh, Cindy, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that this is helpful, you guys. Oh, Axel, I'm so glad. Can't fix it all for you, love, but we're here for you and we love you. Just remember that. What if my daughters don't go any bigger? So then once you've gotten to the largest size that you're going to go to, then you're kind of stuck maybe doing another one. So how big is your canvas? Did you stick with the 12 by 12? Because if your daughters don't go any bigger, what you can do is grab your compass, because this is fun too, and you could create some more. Right? Like you could kind of estimate about how big your piece is, right? So yeah, if I draw a circle about that big, it would be the right size. Then I could come over here and I could start drawing other circles if I want to, and I could do more of them. I could have them overlap. I could just have a whole bunch of them like great big polka dots all over my piece. I could do them in 4 corners. I'd start layering more on there. And I just did it again where I'm going to have to use the eraser while there's wet paint all over my canvas. I did it again, for Pete's sake. Oh, you guys. It's funny. One of the things that I've had to do recently was a visualization of visualize yourself being a successful artist and, you know, making the amount of money that you want to make and all of this different stuff. And what I've always struggled with is seeing myself as that put together, refined person, right? Like I am not an art gallery person, at least not the art galleries that I've ever been exposed to or from what I've seen through, you know, other media and stuff. And I certainly obviously shouldn't take that as the gospel if that's what they're like or anything. But, you know, that's not something that I've ever kind of envisioned myself to be. And I kind of have always thought that, well, that's who I'm going to have to try and become if I'm going to be successful as an artist. And I'm just not that person. And, you know, I think when I don't fight it and I just say, that's not me, that's not going to be me. I don't want that to be me. That doesn't sound fun to me. There's nothing wrong with that way of doing things. It's just not for me. So one of the big quotes that has changed my life a lot over the last 6 months is, since you can do this any way you want, how do you want to do it? Right? I want to do it with doing things like this, teaching you guys, giving you some ideas and inspiration to create some pieces of beauty of your own and to give yourself time to do something for the pure joy of it. That's really all it's about. So Christy, I think what would be really fun if you've got a big canvas is start creating some other circles and do some more. Maybe not do the overlapping for your first ones, but just practice and put like 3 or 4 more going all the way around. And then just keep going with your design and start again from the beginning. You could always alternate it too. So like if this one, oh God. Oh, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it's fixable and it's okay. Do you guys ever see the show Cougar Town? When Jennifer Aniston guest starred on the show Cougar Town, that's Courtney Cox's TV show after Friends. She played a therapist, and one of her positive, she was quite the character, but one of the things she did when she got angry, she would go, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. My anger is in a yellow balloon and I let it go. I don't know why, but I always think that whenever I get angry. It always helps me not be angry for as long. So these silicone brushes are great for removing paint when you make a mistake, like when your tool rolls into the middle of your painting, but only wipes out 2 dots, which is really good. Then we go back in with a paintbrush and just paint over it and blacken the base color. Great hanging out. It was good to see you, Noreen. I'll shoot you an email later on today if you're still here. Thanks for coming and hanging out. But love the positive energy. Totally, right? It's totally different. I'm on a 12 by 12. The next size daughter I found is ball tip, so I think you can get a few more rows. And you can always go in the opposite order, but you're going to have more space in between your dots. Or yeah, just create more of them on that same piece so that you have a canvas covered in a whole bunch. That's a really good point. I didn't think of that when I was talking about tools and everything and finding the size of what you wanted to create. In other mandalas, it doesn't matter because you can just keep using the same size tools to create everything that you want, right? But for this one, it is definitely size dependent. So yeah, just creating multiples on there. Exactly, Vicky. Just being yourself. I would totally go to a gallery with your art. Your coloring pages, tangents, and realness is huge. Oh, thank you. I love you guys. You're so good for my ego. And I love it because I know that you would totally call me out on any bullshit too. And that is the sign. That is the sign in my mind that those are people you want to have around you. They hype you up, but they call you out on your crap too. Your head gets too big for your britches, they'll tell you. And I'm grateful for that. All right, so let's go on to the white dots because we've got a half an hour and I want to talk about these detail dots. So for the next row, I am going to go slightly bigger. I'm still using my micro dotter, but just like the other tools, if you put more paint on them, the dot will get bigger. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and get you in here nice and close, and I'm going to try not to stick my hand in the paint, but we might as well do this now. So I'm going to put quite a bit of paint on the tool, and then I'm going to go in between the blue dots, and see how it's just slightly bigger? Not a huge amount difference, but slightly bigger nonetheless. Right? Sometimes by holding the tool down longer, more paint will come off of the tool and help the dot get a little larger. So in a certain way, like the pressure in all of the P's, it's also about how long, because the longer you hold it down, the more paint is going to run off of your tool and onto the canvas. Oh, and I put a purple dot there. Look at that. So I'm just going to paint over it. That was probably a drip of paint. That happens a lot sometimes too. If the paints are watery, you'll find you get little splatters all over the place. Sometimes it looks kind of cool. Let's see. Need a micro section, right? I can always tell when I'm caught up to the spot where I dropped the tool. Oh no, oh no. Real world problems just like us. Best teaching tool to see you correct a mistake. Exactly. And because if you think you're going to get to a point, I actually had someone go, oh, I wish I could do it perfect like you do. I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. That's not what happens here at all. There are tons of imperfections. There's ones that you learn from and you make changes to. There's ones that are just, yep, that was a mistake and I need to fix it, or that was an accident and I need to fix it. And then there are some where you're like, is it really that much of a mistake? Can I just move on and keep going and will everything be okay? And so there's all different kinds of levels that you kind of learn from it, right? Now I'm going to go in with my, what size am I going to go in with? I'm going in with my smallest nail dotting tool. It is not a micro dotter. It's going to look like it's very similar to the micro dotter size, but I find it does do slightly larger dots. So if you have one of these, this would also, again, different size toothpicks, every toothpick is a little bit different size. Using a slightly larger toothpick would work as well on this here. I've had that happen where my tool rolled into a piece. Yeah. My anger is in a yellow balloon and I let it go. Oh, I'm glad that was helpful, Janice. Yay. Good. Oh, philosophy. Philosophy. Where's my pen? Finn's got a lot to say today. He's such a big teddy bear too, you guys. Like he's a good guard dog, and he scares, you know, other critters away from the property, and he intimidates people that walk by. But let me tell you, he's the biggest damn teddy bear on the planet. He's just a big floofer. Oh, I'm glad that it's helpful then, Autumn. That's good. Aw, thank you, Sharon. But you know what I mean? Like when you don't know the world, you only know what you know from the stereotypes. And I know that those are never an accurate picture. So I couldn't ever picture myself as being somebody, right? And now I'm like, I just have to find my people. So I'm going slightly larger again. See how they're just a little bit bigger again? Now from here on out though, I'm probably going to stick with this tool for a couple of rows and just play with the different amount of paint on it, because I don't want to take up too much space here. So next week, when we do part 2, oh, that was way too much paint. But you can make huge dots like that by putting a huge amount of paint on your tool. So next week, we will go through top dots. That'll be the biggest one, and corners. Let's see. This is the best therapy in my first live. Aw, Cindy, I'm so glad. You'll just have to make a card with all your P's. I totally will. Oh, that's so cool. Thank you for that. It's going to be so fun. There we go. So slightly bigger. So I can add even more paint to this tool now and create an even larger dot. And again, more paint and hold the tool on the surface longer. Right? Holding it on more of an angle can sometimes give you a larger dot. Oops. That turned out square. There we go. But you could do anything in here, right? You could make little tiny hearts if you wanted to. There's all kinds of cool different ideas. And you can start to think of when you do this pattern, you know, when we've done the back to basics tutorials and everything like that, this is still the underlying pattern that if you spend a ton of time working on this pattern and just playing with color, playing with spacing, playing with these little inside details, playing with top dots, it's still a huge world of possibilities of unique things that you can create. There's an artist that I tell everybody about. She's on Instagram, and her account is called Shop World Love. And she makes some of the most beautiful, beautiful pieces, and they're almost all in designs that are just like this, just playing with color. So this is the one to practice. If you're going to invest some time in practicing for this particular type of painting and type of art, this is the pattern you want to play with. Right? So there's the difference in the spacing. And I'm going to just show you on this one. So on this one, I've got spacing to put those little white dots, right? This one, exactly the same pattern, exactly the same way of laying it out, but there's not enough space for a little detail dot in between. You can just pack the dots in tighter and tighter. But you can see how they're different. Let me actually just move this for a second. You can keep going with those tiny dots if you're in there. But this is the same color palette, only I started with pink and I did the alternating instead of the blue, pink, blue, purple. So here's your two different designs that are the same pattern, right? Dots packed in really tightly, space in there to put in the tiny detail in the middle. So with the same colors, you can create things that look completely different, right? Similar but different. This has the gold detail in there. It's got some white top dots on the pink that we didn't do on the other one. But this is the design. If you're going to practice a design to kind of hone your skill, this is the one you want to go with to create all of this different stuff. Okay? Yes, Finn is wonderful, isn't he, Christy? He's just such a big bear. He's such a wonderful creature. He's a teddy bear. It was good to see you, Axel. Please take care of yourself, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon, I hope. All right, I'm going to go back in with the 16 and fix these 2 pink dots before I carry on with those white detail. So you can keep going as wide as your tools will take you. So I'll catch up on the white detail here, and then I'm probably going to lay down a couple more rows just so you can see them get larger. Now when you get out to the larger tools, you know, see how sometimes this paint is suctioning? I don't know if you can see that. See that kind of little suction mark there? That happens when you've got a large flat surface and not a ton of paint. The hard part is it's hard to get the right amount of paint on there. So when you get out to those larger dots, if you keep going with the larger dots, you want to be prepared to be adding a couple different layers of paint to be able to add more paint to the dot so that those little pucker marks aren't there. It's not a huge deal if they are, but you are going to notice the way that they look. Because they will crack and pucker a little bit, and it doesn't give you a super nice flat surface to do all of the top dots on. When the dots are nice and flat, everything else that you lay on after just stays nice and smooth. So I'm going with the same size tool again, just putting a little bit more paint on again. And spinning, just slightly larger. So if you hold it down longer, the dot's going to get a little bit larger because more paint is going to run off the tool. All right, so let's, before we get to the very end I don't want to ruin our goodbyes and everything because we are getting close. I didn't realize it was 10 to 3 already. Let's cover the quick bit of business that this is. So, if you are a member of my Patreon, then this recording will be available to you by no later than end of day on Monday. And I will put up a post on the Patreon to let you know that it's good to go. If you are not a member of the Patreon, or if you don't know what Patreon is, it's a membership site. So you can purchase the recordings of my tutorials on my website for $5 each. But I also have a Patreon membership, and I believe that it's $13 or $15 Canadian a month. So it saves you a few bucks and you get access to all of the tutorials past, present, and future. And there is actually a tutorial on there. The very, very, very first tutorial on Patreon is not available on my website. It is exclusive to Patreon only. And in that particular one, I wonder where I set that. It's a grayscale canvas magnet. Just wondering if I have it handy to show you. Thinking I must not. Oh yeah, here it is. So that tutorial that's exclusive to Patreon is the one where we painted this. It was I think 4 or 5 hours long. It was a long one. So anyway, so that's business piece number 1. So you can purchase the recording of this tutorial on the website for $5. I will email it to you. It's not an auto email. I haven't figured out how to do that yet. I'm working on it, but I'm not there yet. And I released a couple new mugs on the website today. I got home late. I was in town helping my mom, so I'm late getting some other stuff up there. I'm going to put up another flower pot, and because I finished the rainbow flower pot, you guys. So the rainbow flower pot is done. So I'm going to get pictures of this and get it posted up on the website as well. Coloring pages, 5 for $1. Downloadable coloring pages. And I think there's 12 sets on there, including the adult language section ones. Oh, I got to add profanity to the list of P's, don't I? Philosophy and profanity. Anyways, so yeah, I've got, I think, 12 different sets. They're $1 for 5 of the downloadable coloring pages. And thank you to everybody who has already purchased them. And I appreciate you guys even just coming and spending time with me. I really, really appreciate it. Yeah, everything that I make from selling the coloring pages, I'm putting into a special bank account to save up to buy my tiny house. That's my new goal, is to be able to pay for my tiny house with coloring, by selling coloring pages. I think that'd be really cool. So yeah, if you have any questions though, please let me know. Any questions with the tutorial. I have a Facebook group called Dot Mandala Addicts by Mandala Love Affair. There is a post about it on the Facebook page, and I will go in shortly and put another link to it. So you don't have to go digging for it. But there you can ask questions. We sit and chat and show each other our different projects that we're working on. Ask for color suggestions, ask for detail suggestions. So if you'd like to be a part of that Facebook group, we'd love to have you. Love, love, love to have you. All right. So for next week, I'm going to go ahead and paint another row of purple while we're sitting here talking. And I'm going to go up to, oh, sorry. And Rex, for that last little row of those dots, I'm using one size up on the smallest metal ball tool, dotting tool that I have for those larger ones. Once I kind of got to this size, I knew that that was probably as large as my my small one could go. So I just moved up to the next size of the dotting tool. I don't know the measurements on them though. I do apologize. So I used a 15 on there, so I'm going to look for an 18 now. How did I miss the group? Oh no! Yep, it's there, my dear. Love to have ya. You can post pictures of what you've gotten done so far. I thought it would be, you know, a cool space to be able to share what you're working on. If you're working on other projects, dot painting or not, doesn't matter. It's totally okay. If you're working on something that you're super excited about and proud of, and you're creating and doing something you love every day, we want to hear. Oh, shoot, that was supposed to be blue. Here we go. Wipe it off. So, I don't even remember what I was saying there. So let's talk about next week. So for next week, when we do the top dots and we do the corners, whatever you're painting and you want to add in for part 2, try and get it to the point where you've got all of these little white detail dots and all of these large dots ready to go, and make sure you have some of this original color of paint handy for next week and some white. Or complementary colors, like we talked about in the beginning. If you are using red, you could have orange and yellow top dots. Having some yellow handy can help you brighten up your top dots if you don't want to go towards white. So, and we'll go through mixing that sort of stuff next week. Yes, and Sharon is my admin on that Facebook group. So if definitely if you have questions, either her or I will answer you. You can reach out to either of us if there's something that's going on that you want to bring to our attention, or tag us or anything like that. And thank you again, Sharon, for doing that. I'm so grateful for all of the help that you guys all helped me so much, and I just hope you know how much I appreciate it. From the inspiration and the guidance and the tools to use and different resources that you guys Google and look up for me, and the word of mouth, and you guys are just absolutely amazing, and I'm so grateful for you. And I hope that these tutorials give you enough information to be able to kind of jump in and create some of your own masterpieces. I will say the other couple things that I should say at the beginning of every tutorial. This is entirely your art. Try to resist the urge to make it look too much like someone else's. To give that feeling, to give that satisfaction, the symmetry or the shape of dots, that's one thing. But please remember that you are the only you on this planet. The only you. Nobody breathes the way you do. Nobody holds their pen exactly the way you do. Nobody sees color exactly the way you do. Please try and embrace the you in your painting, and just follow what feels good. If it feels good, it doesn't matter if it looks like anybody else's stuff on the face of this planet. If it feels good, do it. Right? So, And would love to see what you guys create. Okay. Yeah, there's a great post that Sharon put up on the Facebook group about getting rid of wastewater from acrylic paints, how to neutralize the water and remove the solids. It's a great resource. Definitely check out that post. So we're going to be sharing lots of that kind of stuff coming up. I'm going to get a little more active on it as well. But it's definitely a place to come and ask for advice and ask questions and just be there. Yes. Exactly, Rex. I love you guys. I'm glad. Your poop, Barb. Well, we are done for the day. Thank you guys for coming and hanging out. So for next week, whatever size you have, try and fill it up with as much as you want. So Christy, for example, if you're finishing up the 12 by 12, maybe I would personally start in each of the corners and maybe build them out a little bit. Maybe you've got enough for a whole 8 of them to go around, and just play with them a little bit. Make a bunch of little small ones. You could make a whole bunch of little ones that are only this big to fill in some holes and stuff too, right? So go ahead and fill up that canvas to as full as you'd like it to be. I'm going to keep going all the way out to this outer circle. I'm going to go all the way out, and then I'm going to do the original base color, none of the top dots, and all of the little white dots. And then next week, we will talk top dots and corners, okay? Yeah, unfortunately, the cussing happens sometimes. Headphones when the kids come in might be a better option to catch. I use Bluetooth headphones, but I'll admit I have a potty mouth, right? That's why P for profanity is now on the list. All right, you guys, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me. I don't know about you, but I definitely feel lighter than I did when I first sat down. I feel calmer. I feel happier. And I had a lot of fun starting this with you guys, and I'm really excited to finish it. So at some point between next week, if you can, try and fill up that canvas or that piece that you're working on, whatever size it is, and we will keep going and add some detail and just give a little more. Excuse me. And hopefully not so many sneezes. I love you guys. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me. Take care of yourselves, please. No live tomorrow, but Monday I will be back to doing my lives on TikTok. I believe Monday will be 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but I will post the schedule on TikTok and on Instagram by end of day tomorrow. Blessed Pooh. Thank you, Barb. That's still the best. I hope you guys had a great time. Bye, Autumn Marie. Thank you, Sharon. Oh, Christy, I'm so glad. Oh, you're welcome, Cindy. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Vicky. I have so many ideas for things to paint. Yay! Fantastic. Have a really great rest of your weekend, you guys. I'm sending you huge heaps of love. And we'll talk to you again real soon. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you, Christy. Yeah, I got some mental work to do today, and it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Some meditation, some listening to music, maybe even a nap, some mental care. Taking a page from your book, Miss Christy. I love you guys. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out. I will post this up on the Patreon soon, and if you are not a member of the Patreon, the link is in my bio. If you want to join that. Otherwise, the individual tutorials will be up on my website. I'm going to start adding pictures in the next couple of days too, so they'll stand out a little bit more and you know what you're looking at. Aw, thanks, Melinda. Yep, you got it, Barb. That's exactly what's going to be happening. All right, you guys. Sending you lots of love. We'll talk to you very, very soon. And I can't wait to finish this piece with you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.